Okay, welcome in all. Hope you're doing well. I'm still getting bits set up, but we're going to get there in just a moment. Sorry for the slightly delayed start. But here we are. Final 20, it's about 28 hours, I think, of IAE. Good to see you in. Good to see you, Kelko, to Tibbs, to Jotcop, to Asher, and to everyone and anyone else who's in chat. Yeah, I actually remembered to unmute myself, so that was a win. So, what we're going to look at today, we've got the final Warbonds to talk about. We've got what's coming up next for Star Citizen. So, we're going to look a little bit about what's coming in 4.5. Speculate a little, I guess, on what ships we might be getting next year. And then, looking at the other important bits and pieces, Squadron 42 coming up, and anything else that takes our fancy as well. Space Tiger, welcome in. Good to see you. So, yeah. That's where we are. Hopefully it's not too loud. It does seem to be peaking on this a bit, so hopefully I've just knocked it down a notch. Let me know if that's okay. But yeah, that's where we are. So, unsurprisingly then, we're going to zip straight over. I'm just going to sort my screen out because it's a bit of an angle. I adjusted the angle of the camera, and it seems to push one side of the screen down. So yeah, we'll have a look at the funding model pretty much. No, that's the wrong screen. That's the one we wanted. Let's jump across and see what it has to tell us. So yeah, funding model then as it stands, very, well, I say very unsurprisingly, I guess. Here we go. First day of the month. One of the lowest days, if not the lowest of IAE so far, but that's only to be expected when all you've got left is Warbonds. And a couple of best in show paints, including some old ones and old patch bundles. Having said that, when I say the worst day, it's still over $2 million in a day. So nothing to sniff at there. Bringing us to over $917 million raised for the project to date, and up to 6,126,000 player accounts. Obviously doesn't mean players because people will own multiple accounts, but still nothing shabby at all. Welcome in Ivory Home, Snortscopian, Gladius Warbond time. I mean, maybe we'll see. We'll see what comes out of it, but that's where we are. So not too bad at all. You'll have the spikes obviously every few hours when the limited sales went up, and I haven't actually checked as to whether or not all the limited ships are sold out, but I'm 99 to 100% certain that they will be, right? So the Pioneer was slow to sell out, and by slow I mean it took 30 seconds, but they're all going to have sold out, right? Yeah. So let's have a look. What else is there? One of the most, yeah, unsurprisingly. What about the Hully then? Because given all the madness online, you'd think people would stop buying the Hully, wouldn't you? Because, you know, now it's been nerfed into the floor because it's only 20,000 SEU in 32 SEU containers. Obviously, they'll have knocked that on the head. Clearly not. Welcome in, Can. Good to see you. Yeah. There we go. So that's where we are so far. I'm just going to skip through again, giving you a sneak peek of what we're going to talk about, but I just kind of skip through the tabs and stuff. So yeah, unsurprisingly, not a huge day for them yesterday in comparison to the rest of IE, but still nothing to sniff at on the earning front. Bring them overall to 142 million. So honestly, that 150 mil by the end of the year, looking very, very likely, almost a certainty at this point, especially if we get, you know, a ship in December. And given the fact that we have had a release every month since the beginning of the year, I guess that's not beyond the realms of possibility. So there you go. Spot ILW and spot IE for these. Kind of crazy, right? So yeah, there we go. Significant days, significant progress on the funding front. So yeah, there we go. Gladius Warbond is for CCU chaining. Yes, potentially. Absolutely. Rock DS Warbond, says Space Saga. Oof. That would be just rough. So yeah, we'll jump across, but I honestly don't know what the last Warbond's going to be. I know a couple of people have said maybe they've got something planned. I mean, I genuinely don't know. There's, again, nothing. The very few releases of ships come as a complete surprise to us. We always seem to know in advance. So the fact that nothing has been made available to us, that's interesting. So one of the things we're going to talk about a little later on is Squadron 42. And where we think that's going to release and how we think that's going to release, how they're going to announce that it's coming and the date and all that sort of stuff. If indeed it is still planned for 2026, we're going to have a look at the patch report, the patch for 4.5. Unfortunately, the roadmap's not updated till tomorrow, so we won't see that properly until then. And when I checked moments ago, all we had so far this week on the comlink from CIG was the week report, nothing else. So there is a progress report, I believe, due today, and we can go and check that if we like. Let's have a look. Explore. Let's go to comlinks. Open a new tab. Yeah, so it's still this week in Star Citizen. Let's jump across. So what we've got coming out today is the subscriber comlink and the subscriber newsletter. I do apologise, that's what we've got coming today. Then tomorrow, roadmap update, roadmap roundup, and event ends at 2000. So yeah, we've got pretty much 28 hours and 6 minutes until the end of IAE. And then the huge bit on Thursday, the really big news, Inside Star Citizen 4.5 engineering server maintenance starting. So maybe, just maybe, that'll be the launch of 4.5. I don't know. I think it is only to Wave 1 so far, if someone could check my math on that. But I've seen some Wave 1 videos go up on Tinterwebs. So there we go. There we go. How long left? For IAE, Kaiser? It's 28 hours. So there we go. Only went to Wave 1 today. So yeah, that's where we are at the moment. Where was the announcement that it's been knocked back to 2027? Last I heard was November 2026. I haven't seen one about 27 yet. I think there was another video that came out recently that said GTA delayed again, but when I looked at the description of the video, it said 2026 November. So I think that might be what is misleading people. Loop. I'm just gonna go with loop. So there we go. Tough for me at the moment. So yeah, Wave 1 looking a little bit shaky. So it might not be the release or speedy release that we're expecting, and then it might not be 4.5 on Thursday if it is still rough. Then again, it wouldn't be the first rough Christmas patch we've ever had, would it? So who knows? At this point, it is really unclear which way it's going to fall. So yeah, there we are. In terms of the Warbonds today, I'm really not sure. I'm hoping it'll be another good one. CIG really did pull the surprise out on us with the, not yesterday's Warbonds, day before, with the Ironclad included. And that's been added. I haven't done, despite talk about how I could get myself up to towards the Ironclad using the Asgard and stuff, I haven't yet added anything else. I do note that I could go straight to the Stinger or the Mole straight to the Asgard, because those Warbonds line up nicely, but it just means more money being put in the game. And at this point, I'm really not sure, especially seeing as my Gemini to Valkyrie CCU jumps some of that gap without having to put the money in. So we'll see. Loop is the name. Awesome. I had to grab an Ironclad, C2 to Ironclad Warbond. Yeah, I've got that one sat as well, although I've got nothing taking me up to the C2 at the minute. I've got stuff in and around it, But there we go. Happy wallet closing, says Parker. Welcome in. Chris, good to see you. Was that the first Ironclad Warbond CCU to ever be offered? No, I think it was on release day as well, but release day wasn't as cheap. So release day was 425, I believe. So, oh, it was the first one, Asher, was it? It wasn't offered on release day. Is that right? I can't remember. So yeah, release day did have one. Since then, it's been the first Ironclad, but on release day it was 425, I think, and this one obviously being cheaper. So that's quite interesting, or 420, something like that. So yeah, very interesting that they've chosen to done that, knowing that it's coming out next year as well. So not only are you going to get a significant saving on the war bond, you're also going to ride the price increase up. Or for those that aren't, the Ironclad is the purpose, they've just locked it in at the current price, which is nice. And that price being 410, not 450. That's good. Will there be new Warbond CCUs tomorrow? I don't believe so, Citizen Ninja. They did say new every day, but for the last 4 hours, I'm not sure. I'm guessing not. Hasselbones, welcome in. Red Samurai, good to see you. Welcome in all. And to anyone that I haven't said hello to, for those that are lurking in the shadows, welcome in. Good to see you. The list of vehicles that can CCU discount will rapidly shrink. Yeah, I mean, we've heard, there's been rumours of the CCU kind of game being closed off forever. And I think what, the Ironclad showed us was that it was, it's very much like the opening advert to the game. Rumours of the CCU game demise have been massively overstated. So we'll see. I think they wouldn't. The idea that we somehow took advantage of the whole thing and they didn't know that was going to happen from the very start, I don't buy it. I'm not entirely sure that they knew what was going to happen. And I think it's because they knew, just staring at the purchase now in that video, because it's, they knew selling $800 spaceships was always going to be dodgy from the start, I think, in terms of how many people felt like that was a valuable thing to do. So yeah, today is the last. So and then tomorrow, like you said, it finishes at 8 o'clock, or 8 p.m. So 2000. And yeah, there we go. 1 day, 4 hours. So we are changing over imminently. Let's see if we've had the new stuff yet. And we have. Okay. Interesting. So the Nova Tonk, there we go, is one of our CCUs. The Starlancer Max is the other. Interesting. So, it's not quite sub $100, but it's not far off. $10 off that one, I'm guessing. Yeah, $10. So saving of $10 for the Nova Tonk. And then the Max, I'm guessing 20, maybe 25 if I'm being optimistic, but I'm thinking 20. Yeah, $20 off. So there we go. Not huge news. Not massively kind of ground-shatteringly, earth-breakingly wow, but still some money off. So there we go. Citizen Ninja says, I took so much advantage and got nearly all of my ships discounted by like 55 to 65%. So it almost feels like I scammed CIG. A testament to their marketing skills, I suppose. That's it. Yeah. If you can get people to feel like they're spending X number of $100 on in-game assets and that they're getting a deal for it, I guess that is marketing at its finest, right? Nova is solid for change. It really, really is. Nothing at 105 forces a $10 war bond. Yes, it does. So there we go. I think there are ships at 225, aren't there? Am I right in thinking that? Let's find out. Sorry, you're probably picking up all the scrolly noise. Yeah, so you've got the Raylan's a bad war bond, so don't do that. Don't do that, because obviously with this going up in price, you'll actually end up with a negative value CCU. So don't do the Raylan. That one needs to be a $10. So that's where we go. Nova is good. Can get a raft upgrade from it and get extra value from store credit in a chain with the price increase, says Kut. So yeah. Gemotech, welcome in. This looks to be the last of the deals, we think. It's not 100% confirmed, but there we go. 10 for 10 is decent, yeah. So yeah, a dollar for dollar kind of Warbonds saving is okay, I guess. It's not a huge amount of money off compared to some of it, like the $10 for $40 saving that we had with the Ironclad and so on and so forth. Or the, what is it for the Perseus? The Perseus was cheap as well, right? 30 for 100, something like that. So there we go. Loop says I have to path the Raelian, the Galaxy, and the Ironclad this IAE. Nice, good job. This was the end last IAE. Yeah, so it looks like the last of the Warbonds, we think. So there we go. Significant savings to be had throughout, just unfortunately not today. But still, Novatonk, a lot of fun, becoming more and more useful in PvP as we get, or in the game full stop, but certainly in events around Hathor, Stormbreaker, that sort of stuff, can see more use with it. You can have a lot of fun going and, breaking Hathor with a Novatonk. And the Star Lancer Max, not the most maneuverable ship in the world, but lots of cargo and lots of people feeling the love for the Star Lancer and the MISC design in general. So yeah, that's cool. Nemoticon, welcome in, buddy. Good to see you. Those didn't seem great, so can Star Lancer CCU, I bet, will catch a bunch of people out. Oh, what, going up from the railing? Yeah, possibly. Possibly. Although at the end of the day, you can always melt it and get your $5 back. So, yeah. Ruboy says, this is a very good IE, and I've been to all of them so far. This is one of the best. Hull B CCU is the one that's going to go up to 300. It's certainly going to go up to something. And I think it's going to go up quite significantly. There is a reason I now have 3 of them in my account. I've got 1 Warbond, so it can be gifted/sold. And I've got 2 just to, use in internal chains, because I genuinely think it's going to get up to levels of around the Forge and stuff like that when that comes out next year. It'll be interesting to see where the Stingray lands as well. Dave Wills, don't have to do CCUs anymore. Absolutely. Tonk Warbond CCU and Tonk Raft Store Credit CCU is a good combo. Interesting. Yeah, absolutely. Because, of course, the Raft, one of the other ships that are going up. So that'll be the last thing I'll say. And I am sure you guys are all over it already. But, importantly, Hull A, Hull B, Raft, and Raylan all going up this IAE. So, in terms of those ships, then, let's look at all ships and let's look at them in turn. A couple of things to factor in on the CCU front. I'll just go over the kind of main ones for me. First of all, you want a ship that is price stable. Okay, and what I mean by that is you want a ship that's not suddenly going to go up in price. And we'll see this in action with the Raylan at the minute. So here, if you wanted to secure the Hull A, you've got a couple of options. The Avenger Warlock, the Herald, the Reliant Sen, all fairly price stable. The Herald will need a rework at some point. I mean, all of them will to an extent, but the Reliant Sen will absolutely need a rework because Reliant is very, very old. So your best bet there might be something like the Avenger Warlock to go up to the Hull A. What were the other ones? We said Hull B, wasn't it? The next one. Where's the 130? If I've skipped past it. Hull B 140. Sorry, that's right. So Hull B up from the Cutlass Red. Cutlass Red's great because I think it's always available as well. So that's a really useful ship. You don't have to wait for a sale to actually buy the ship itself or CCU up to it. Hull B $5 again. Really nice step up. You could also do the Freelancer Dare if you wanted to, but Cutlass Red's a really good choice there. Going up then to the Raylan, and the Raylan's a really good example of this. Again, Terrapin Defender and Terrapin Medic, all time limited ships. So they'll only be for sale at certain points of the year. Okay, the Raylan, obviously a $5 or $5 CCU again, and this is why the Star Lancer Warbond being 230 What I mean by price stable is you don't want to choose the Raylan for that. Yes, it's the cheapest way of getting there, but the Raylans are about to go up in price massively. So to get yourself to the Raylan, you'll actually end up going above the value of, or at least equal to the value of the Star Lancer itself. Cutty Red might be. I don't think. Let's have a look. I thought it was available all the time as one of the medical ships. Cutlass Red, always available. Question mark. Let's find out. Is it not? Oh, sorry. It was removed. So it used to be always available, but then it was removed for ships like the C8R Pisces. So no, good spot. Good spot. It used to be one of the always available ships. So yeah. So there we go. Good spot. Kempi, welcome in. Good to see you, Malemba. Yeah, lock in that whole B price. Exactly that. And the raft in there, I realised we didn't look at the raft either, did we? So where's the raft gone? Oh, I can't remember where the raft is. People are going to get frustrated with me because I'll have scooted past it. No, it's not. There you go. So you've got a couple of 120s in there that are worth going to. Again, if you wanted to go up there, you could do the Nova. Also useful because then you could Warbond up to the Nova. The Alpha Wolf, unfortunately, the Wolves don't have do you know what? I've just figured something out. Raft at 125. Nova is Warbond. Right? You with me so far? Does it work? Does it work all the time? Possibly not. No, not so much for the Cutlass, but for the Raylan. Here's the other thing that's interesting. Was the Terrapin Medic on Warband or not? Have I just screwed this up? I've just screwed this up, haven't I? None of these are on Warbond, this IAE check. I can't remember now. Look, guys, I've been streaming every day. I don't know. I just was the Terrapin Medic Warbond? Someone help me out here. I thought it was at some point. Come on, chat. Don't abandon me now. It was. Yeah. So you could get a Warbond to the closest upgrade to the Raylan. You can now get a Warbond to the closest upgrade to the raft. Yeah. Which is kind of interesting. Because you can get it to that one. So they're almost kind of like, yeah, it obviously doesn't apply to the Hull A so much, which maybe to me indicates a little bit that maybe the Hull A is not going up massively. Because there wasn't one to the Gladius, there wasn't one to the Sun, there wasn't one to the Warlock, and there wasn't one to the Herald. Check. It wasn't the Herald on Drake Day. What was it on Drake Day? Oh god, I can't remember. What was it on Drake Day? Anyone remember? But yeah. So there you go, which is really interesting. The Golem and the Clipper, that's right. So even so, with the Golem, I mean the Golem's not far off, right? Or is it, oh no, the Golem's the same price. Yeah, the Golem's the same price. Interesting. Okay, so if you want to build those chains, there has been the option throughout, because obviously we knew with the Hull B that the Hull B is going up in price throughout. So the same with the Raylan, the same with the Hull A, the same with the Raft. So you've had the chance there potentially to get some nice war bonds, taking you up close to those ships that are going up in price as well. So not bad. Was the Vulture. So there we go. Yeah, interesting. So just when we thought it wasn't safe to go back into the CCU game, it's yeah, it's interesting. There you go. Day 1 RSI Meteor 24060, day 1 600i, day 3 Vulture, day 4 Merchantman, day 5 Miss Guardian MX, day 6 Anvil Terravim Medic. Yeah, nice. Thank you, Ashra. Tran, I'm going to call you that because Tran 8p doesn't. Is that what it is? Tran 8p? I don't know. Am I missing that? Sorry, I'm butchering the pronunciation of your name. I do apologise. I think they'll do Hull 8 $100 because then it breaks any Nova train, more money for CIG. I think it might go up a little bit more than that. Potentially. Hopefully not much more, but I think it will potentially go up. I still think the two biggest... I want to say winners. That's not what I mean. Winners and losers. Winners because those already have CCs used to them will make a lot of money out of the CCUs in terms of value up to other ships or money to sell them. The losers because anyone who wants those ships will now have to pay more. But I think the Raylan and the Holby are going to do percentage-wise much bigger increases than the Raft or the Hull A. And obviously, I don't think that that's because the Raft and the Hull A are already released. I think that's because the Hull B is was already very cheap for where it was positioned in the market, and that's before the SCU upgrade that they told us about. And the Raylan is an alien ship with a large cargo capacity, so alien tax and an increase based on the amount of SCU it can carry. That's what I reckon. So yeah, there we go. Hustlebones. Yeah, it's like they saw how much money they're making and said, "Fuck it, throw them a bone and save them some dough." They've had a good year. Do you think the Perseus to Polaris Best in Show Warbond for 75 is worth holding on to? Depends on how much you want a Perseus. Sorry, Polaris, right? It's entirely up to you. So Luke, one of the things that I won't do is I won't give kind of like personalized advice regarding which ship people should have or like which war bonds are worth it, what ship values are, because at the end of the day, it's a hobby. It's not something that, just because I got a microphone and a camera doesn't qualify me to tell you what you should do with your money. And I would be horrified to give people shit advice and then be like, I don't like it. I get everything that you said, that sort of stuff. So I don't tend to go down that route. I'll always talk from my perspective, and I'll talk about objectively ways CCUs can be used: sell, lock in a ship price, ride it for value, speculative, in other words, all that sort of stuff. But I don't talk to individuals about how that works for them, because it's a very individual thing. It's a hobby, right? So what is of value to me may not be of value to you, and vice versa. However, 75 purchase to Polaris is $100 saving. Objectively, there's a lot of money in that. And at the end of the day, if you don't know what to do with it, you can always get your money out of it in terms of store credit. And it might be worth something on the black market if you give a little bit of a go for people to sell theirs and then have a go at selling it a little while down the line. You might make some money. I have flown in both and like both, just thinking about it in the future. For me, my question is the value good? Yeah, if it's a math thing, then absolutely. Fishhead Break Room, Carlton Whitfield, welcome in, guys. Good to see you. I went from Perseus to Polaris, happy with this, absolutely. Although, obviously, heresy, because any step away from the Perseus is obviously the wrong step to make, in my estimation. So there you go. One of each easy, says Hustlebones. Nice. But yeah, welcome in, guys. Good to see you. So yeah, for those that are only just tuning in, Warbonds today, Nova Tonk, Star Lancer Max. So those are our new ones. It's nice to see CCUs at the lower end, although this one is only a $10 saving and then a $20 saving off the Max, bringing it $250 down to $230. So yeah, there we go. Those are our Warbonds. Not much more to say to this. What I will say is someone said earlier they felt like this was their best IAE so far. And I would agree. I've got to say, there's one thing I will say here, I think, that is objectively true. And that is that the ships they have launched this year, whether you like the aesthetic or whether you like the purpose or you find them useful, they are incredibly well designed. The Alpha Wolf is gorgeous, obviously based off the Wolf. What they've done with both models in terms of the component placing, now that we can actually see that, is just chef's kiss. The Perseus, objectively, use of space, component positioning, design, all that sort of stuff, even the extra basketball hoop, really, really cool. The Clipper, to some an ugly duckling, to others, literally their black swan, but incredibly pretty, incredibly well designed, huge amount packed into a very small space, and such a Star Wars aesthetic. It is sickening. Yeah, they've done such a good job with the ship design this year. Salvation, very, very interesting design, incredibly minimalistic for an RSI ship. Still very, very cool, and so on and so on. So yeah, SE Kingdom, welcome in. Good to see you. Dahoon Jr., good to see you, my friend. Ray, welcome in, buddy. So yeah, hoping for Gladius. Yep, definitely didn't get that, unfortunately. No new cell drama to chew on. S, is Parker. Oh well, yeah, unfortunately that. And you're right, Parker. The what do you call it? The pulling out the best in show skins was a really nice touch. So for those of us that haven't paid through the nose on the grey market, having access to those again is really, really good news. I support CIG reducing the FOMO stuff. The in-game rewards of things like doing the resource drive and getting the rewards for that. That's how limited stuff. It should be about playing the game, not about whether or not you can afford a ship at the right time. So, yes, that. The ships have changed a lot in a year. I was new last summer, and they have barely any of these new fancy ships as loop. Yeah, there's they're coming on leaps and bounds in their ship design. It's been really, really impressive to see. Polaris and Idris are incredible. Polaris has my vote as favorite capital design. Nice, absolutely. Yeah, Polaris is really nice. Idris is really nice. They're just, when you get that big, it's kind of, you're running around inside them, and you've got to keep reminding yourself that they are vehicles and not game locations. It takes a little bit of reminding, but very, very cool. So that's where we go. That's the final day of IAE. So there we go. 3 days, 3 rotations. So that's it. This is it for the Warbonds now. This is rotation number 3. So that's it. This will be it now for the remainder of that countdown. We are now. Obviously, it's a little bit less than that. Let's just for the sake of historical accuracy. There you go. For the last 1 day, 3 hours, 38 minutes, these are the Warbonds, because this has been the 3. If they pull something else out, that's that. So yeah, and this may well be the final IAE before Squadron 42. It might not. We know what CIG are like with these things. However, I can tell you one thing. It is going to be the final IAE before 4.5. See, predictions. Cutting edge commentary you can't get anywhere else. So 4.5 then, due out within the next couple of weeks. Went to PTU today. I said at the beginning of this that it might be the server maintenance on Thursday, but people have said that it's not looking particularly stable at the moment. There are issues with it, so it probably won't be. Within this patch, we have FPS AI improvements, new hairstyles, yay, and a new facial style, the Jared. We've got Vulcan renderer improvements, which, as long as they can make that more stable than it is now, that would be really, really useful. Engineering gameplay, fire hazards, physical helmets, and new barrel attachments. All very welcome. The physical helmet things, I know for a lot of people, especially new people, it might be like, Honestly, who cares? For the old salts who remember the helmet flip when they went to put it on, that's very, very cool. And it's going to be really nice to see them. There was a video I think someone posted earlier, Calco linked it to me, of having the helmet on the belt. That's very cool. So there we go. All I'll say about engineering gameplay is, well, no matter how stable the patch is, engineering is going to feel for a little while like it's breaking the game. And that's, we know that this is going to happen because when they first brought the wind out that could affect us around about the time that we got Microtech and New Babbage, that you always forever felt like you were walking into wind, and any movement on a planet just felt like you were walking into a storm force gale. Engineering is going to be amped up to give them the data they need and to let us experiencing it quickly, especially given how quickly some people will take a ship out, abandon it, claim it, take a ship out, abandon it, claim it. We know that those same people will be like, oh, I never experienced it. So they'll ramp it up a little more, rather than actually telling those people they need to grow up a little bit and figure out that if you, like it's anything, it's like if you drive a car off the forecourt of a dealership and you only use it for one journey and then you go get another brand new car, with any luck, you're not going to experience any breakdowns. Though with new cars, that's probably not the case. So there we go. Anyone else using Perseus solo? Interesting. No, I'm not using my Perseus solo. I'm bringing my yellow raincoat and umbrella to 4.5 because it's going to be raining salt, very, very possibly. There we go. Claim times with quadruple to deal with that. Possibly. I mean, claim times going up, I think, is probably a given. I think to the point where capital ships, you're probably going to measure in terms of days rather than hours. But yeah, I mean, I might be wrong that, and I'm more than happy to entertain the idea that I'm wrong. The key thing here for me is, like I say, engineering. Just brace yourself. Engineering's going to bust stuff up. If that's going to bother you, it's okay. It's Christmas. There are sales and stuff. It's time to get some new games and play that and come back to engineering when you want to give it a go, if it breaks it beyond all recognition. Or it might be time to try playing engineer, running around and fixing and literally putting out all of these fires. It'll be a good, I think, trial by fire. Forgive the pun. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Honestly, that wasn't intentional. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was bad. But you get it, right? Fucking dad jokes, honestly. But there we go. Skull Splitter T-shirt is what the December software is. That out? Because we'll have a look at that if we want to. But yes, 4.5 is also getting a roadmap update and a roundup thing tomorrow. So there'll be more detail as to what's coming in 4.5. Although if you're playing PTU, you're probably spotting a lot of this stuff already. But yeah, there will be that sort of stuff. It is out, is it? We'll have a look. Have they increased the price of the F8C badges? It wasn't 300 before. It was 300. It was 300. And I'm 99% sure of that. Because I remember saying I'm not paying 300 for it when I can just earn it in Squadron. So there you go. Not turret weapons. Ranges going to 1K will take some getting used to. Yeah, lots of changes going on. That's the store credit. No Warbond price. Yeah, yeah, they did no Warbond for it. The F8C, exactly that. So there we go. Okay. So on that note, then let's have a look. With that news out, let's just see what's in there. We'll have a look and we'll see what's going on. Ooh, it's not there. Oh, did it come out to? Did it come out to people's individual email? Did it? Because they've not put it up there yet. I'm just having a look at my email to see if it's in there. Not that I can see just yet. But then again, I might be in the wrong account. I can't remember, to be honest. I can't remember which account I get the email to. But there we go. So yeah. So there we go. Excuse me. Good lord. Ugh. Is it on the main page, the subscriber stuff? No? Bizarre. Oh, is it actually on the subscriber bit? What am I missing? Nope. Nigat Seeker, not there. There we go. So, yeah, so 4.5, like I said, prepare for it to break things a little. You know, this always happens when new features come in, especially something as fundamentally underpinning as engineering. Don't be too shocked. Obviously, be prepared to step away rather than just banging your head against a brick wall, because nobody needs that. Nobody wants that. It'll be rubbish. So yeah, just bear that in mind and you know, kind of brace yourself, I think. And like anything, be prepared to take a break if you need to, because this game will do things to you. So there we go. And then what'll be really interesting now is, now that we start to look to the year ahead, the question that pops to my mind is what's going to happen with Squadron 42. So Chris Roberts specifically said that, and this was about the time they started. Do you remember they did the video on Asiado Station, right? And they did a whole thing about it, and they said they were going to release a series of videos. They did the Asiado Station one, and then they stopped and were like, "Oh, we don't want to spoil it," which is an interesting choice. And around about that point, Chris Roberts said, "Normal games only get about 6 months of kind of marketing fluff before they come out, you know." And to me, that was maybe an indication that for Squadron, we get about a 6 months heads up, which is interesting from now on, because, you know, with GTA 6 now coming out in November, and you would assume not wanting to compete directly with GTA 6, because nothing should compete directly with GTA 6, you would, and by directly I mean coming out at the same time. Not the same not the same platform. I completely understand that, but still, I think there are plenty of people out there who are going to get consoles just in order to be able to play that game, and I can't really blame them for wanting to do so. So yeah, there's that kind of aspect to it as well, right? Is that if there's 6 months of lead time, roughly, in terms of marketing and getting a release date, they are running out of time, because you're already in May now. Well, end of May, beginning of June. If they announce it right now, you probably want a couple of months clearance between you and Grand Theft Auto, right? Between Squadron and Grand Theft Auto, I mean. So I think if we don't get it announced by kind of February, March time, I don't think it'll be coming out next year. But that's just me. I mean, maybe they're going to go head to head bit. Maybe they're going to try and compete, which would be nuts. But maybe they are. I don't know. We'll see. And then the other question is, how will they announce it? Will it just be a straight up, or will they do something special? Will something happen in the verse? Will we find out first? Will it just go public through normal media? Like, I mean, it'll do all of those things. The question is, how are they going to announce it first, I guess. So there we go. Tested my FPS on Levski. I had 60 FPS using 75% GPU, 50% CPU, and 40 gigabytes of RAM. Yeah. Not, I mean, yeah. 3.6 Ronkin, not good, not terrible. It's kind of like that, right? CIG risking slipping to 2027 is a risk too, as so many people are waiting to call it a scam still. They call it a scam regardless. Fuck them. Not gonna lie, after what I've seen them do this year and what I've seen from engineering, I actually think Squadron 42 is coming out next year, and SC might be 1.0 by 2028. So yes, I agree with half of that. I'm still hoping Squadron 42 will come out next year. I don't expect to see 1.0 this side of 2030. And I know people don't want to hear that. but that's simple. That's a math thing, right? What I mean by that, people are like, oh, how are you doing your math? That's voodoo. No, it's pretty simple. So what I'll do is I'll just show you guys exactly what I mean. I'll go load the video up. So talk quietly amongst yourselves whilst I'm flicking through and having a look. But basically, CIG's own information seems to indicate that that's going to be the way it goes. So, for example, then, we want to go to playlists. There we go. It was that one. That's not the one we wanted. So you will have had a little bit of noise there, just a little bit. Okay. So you won't be able to hear it. I'll mute it anyway. But at CitizenCon, we were given the road to 1.0 presentation. Okay, and what they did on this was they gave us what their intentions were for 1.0. All right, so you got stuff like this. So, for example, United Resource Workers, Industrial Guild, Repair Technician, Breakdown Engineer, Salvager, Fuel Gatherer, Miner, Builder, Refiner, Crafter. Okay, we have 1, 2 of those things. After 4.5, arguably 4 of those things. We can't craft, we can't refine, we can't build, we can't fuel gather. We can do half of that. And I would argue that's probably the most fleshed out loop, right? So there's that. And then I'm bear with me a second. I'm just trying to find the next bit. So there's the planets. I'm just looking for the. So you then break it down. Okay, so for mining FPS, yep. Mining ship, yep. Ground extraction, no. For salvager, structural salvage, yes. Hull scraping, yes. Component salvage, kind of, but not really. Certainly not implemented as a game loop, although you can nick it off other people's ships. Fuel gatherer, hydrogen and quantum. Yeah, quantum, kind of, but there's no way to actually sell it, so that's not happening. Towing, refueling. Well, we've got refueling for breakdown engineer. And yeah, okay, we have kind of got towing, so breakdown engineer, yeah, fair enough. Repair infrastructure, hull repair, power network repair, not in yet. I don't count relays as part of that. Crafter, equipment, components, vehicles. Refiner, refined materials. Builder, buildings and space stations. None of this is in. Bearing in mind, this is the road to 1.0. So what you're seeing here is what they expect at 1.0. So space stations are going to come afterwards. No, that's not what they said. So moving a little bit on, there's Terra. Okay, they've then got a transport guild. There's a little bit more in this. Trader, transport and sell, buy and deliver. Recovery of cargo delivery, passenger delivery, vehicle delivery, data delivery. So we've got most of this. So maybe this is the most fleshed out loop, right? Recover cargo, yeah. Cargo delivery, yeah. Transport and sell, yeah. Buy and deliver, yeah. Cargo delivery, yep. Transporter, passenger, no. Vehicle delivery, no. Data delivery, no. So we've got most of that, okay? And then the academy. Scan, so again here, capture animals, no. Collect animal parts, yes. Hunt animals, yes. Researcher, retrieve and research. Whatever the hell that means, no clue. Rescue person, firefighting. So we haven't got rescue. We've got find dead person in a cave. That's not a rescue. That's a body recovery. Completely different. Firefighting, yeah, kind of next patch, and so on and so forth. You see where I'm going with this, right? Have a look at any previous year, go through all the patches, have a look at how many game loops were implemented and new mission styles were implemented. Take the most optimistic number that you can, right? And let's say that's 10, right? And I'm probably being very optimistic with that. But let's say between game loops and everything else. And then what you do is you go through this and you count all this up. And then you just divide it by 2, because that's 27 and 28. So if we're expecting him by 28, that's how many game loops and mission types you need per year. And then when you look at that number and go, there's no fucking way they're going to do that, you know that 2028 is ridiculous, right? And I'm not calling you ridiculous, just so you know. I'm just saying for this 2028 thing that came out was some random unattributed comment in a French-Canadian newspaper. That's where that came from. They don't say who said that. They just said he's aiming for 2028. And it's not even his quote. They're just saying he's doing that. And it's not supported anywhere else, okay? So there you go. You've got the council stuff. Sorry, go a little bit further on maybe. There we go. So there's the council, the criminal guild. You got the mercenary guild. You see what I'm talking about. Some of this will be fairly well fleshed out as well, but some of it won't be. There's a lot of other stuff in here as well, right? You've got the Imperial Sports Federation and so on and so forth, right? So when you go and look at all this together, this is the storyline stuff, but you see what I mean, right? There's an awful lot in there of exactly, I think that's it, what they're planning to do. And that's just the headlines. That's not all the missions. Pirate shipjacker. Kind of. Organised criminal. Don't know what makes it organised. Smuggler. Not really. Operative. No idea what that means. Crafter. Illegal. Nope. So the council stuff up here. You see what I mean? So this is where it starts to get. Yeah, I guess 3. Sure. But that assumes end of 2028. And also, I think it's fairly safe to say for the whole polish thing, look how long Squadron 42 spent in polishing. You can't polish while you're still adding new stuff. So I think 6 to 12 months of polish for Star Citizen and stability like now, once they've broken a bunch of stuff by adding new things in, and then optimizations because they've added a bunch of new stuff in, that's still going to have to happen as well. But sure, I mean, do it by 3. I think it's still going to be a number that you sit there and go, no. Okay. So there we go. For sure, but I think you might be expecting too much from some of these careers compared to CIG's expectations. Like they would call finding a body search and rescue career. I mean, possibly, but I don't think so. There's nothing rescue about that. You don't even get them out of the cave, right? There's none of the medical stuff. There's none of that sort of thing. If you look almost exclusively, there isn't a search and rescue ship that is also a medical ship. That isn't also a medical ship. So medical is obviously supposed to be part of that, right? And it's not at the moment. So there we go. Squadron 42 devs never moved to Star Citizen. They'll move to Chapter 2 more likely. I mean, they've said it'll move over to Squadron 42, to Star Citizen, so you kind of got to take them at their word. Even when they have the Squadron 42 devs back on SC, it'll most likely take time, but it should speed up. It should speed up, yeah. The question is how much too, right? And when you go, I don't know, well, let's take what we know. If they speed up, hell, if I'm wrong, again, it's one of those beautiful things where if I'm wrong, so what? It's a pleasant surprise for me. I just think, people, we've heard everything's going to be in 2 years, everything's going to be in a couple of years, and I just don't think we're that far on, right? We had base building, 2 years ago? And crafting 2 years ago? It's taken them 2 years to implement these systems. And that is at the same time that, quote unquote, Squadron 42 is feature complete. In fact, it might have been later than the Squadron 42 is complete. Search and rescue will probably be more of a thing when raiders get real, yeah, and certainly, you'll need to either be able to carry people out more kind of effectively, because at the moment you can't tractor beam anyone that's not in a down state. NPC pathing, carrying NPCs and ships, those are all going to be things, right? And maybe we'll see some of this with what we see next year, because there's that rescue people mission, but then again, that might be an NPC rescue ship where the NPCs run into the back, the doors close, they despawn. right? There's a marked difference between getting NPCs onto an NPC ship, closing the door, and then having whatever happen outside of the player to having them on a player's ship. That they're not the same thing. One is far simpler than the other. But yeah, there we go. 1.0 is a massive whittling down of SC, and the actual 1.0 will be a missile whittling down of that. I don't know. I think they've gone hard enough with the we're not going to release it until it's ready. I had the same fear when we first saw this. There seemed to be a sudden shift towards, oh my god, it feels like they're trying to rush it out. And I thought exactly the same thing. They're whittling this down. This is going to be not as in depth. This is going to be, ocean wide but puddle deep. The good old saying. And actually, they then a year later went year of stability. We're not going to focus on new features. We're going to focus on delivering we're going to focus on fixing stuff up. And we're going to deliver only what was almost ready anyway. So, I think I get the sentiment 100%, but they don't seem to have gone quite that way yet, which is good. They're not rushing it out, because that's when we saw this, as cool as all this was, my worry was exactly like you've said. I looked at a bunch of this and went, yeah, but by the letter of the law, you could say that you've done that. Because there is something that kind of fits into that slot, and that's why the cave mission thing jumps into my head every time I look at that rescue stuff. I think the reason some ships have a lot of medbeds, thinking the Apollo right off the bat, thinking the Javelin the Polaris right off the bat, is I think some of the medical gameplay will be evolved going to outposts and things that have quote unquote some sort of epidemic or outbreak or medical emergency, and you put them all on beds, because 5 med beds, 6 med beds, even two tier 1 med beds on Apollo is overkill. The only point at which you need that is if you're trying to respawn multiple people at precisely the same moment. That's the only reason to have multiple medical beds at the minute. That's it. So yeah, so I'm hoping, I'm quietly optimistic that they do have more planned for that, and we'll see, I guess. And that's for 1.0, not just beyond 1.0. Turkey King says, I think a bit of part of it is when you add so many career paths, you can't expect them to be a full-time job. The simple nature of people is that they may do something as a focus, but they will crave change and do other things, not just one. 100%. And I think this is why now when you look at it, you've got other gameplay like other games. You have things like, and I'll always go back to World of Warcraft, right? You've got auction house stuff, you've got mining, you've got herbalism, you've got skinning, you've got enchanting, all that sort of stuff. They're all meant to supplement the main quest line and mission and running around and all that sort of stuff. And okay, that's very different because it's story based, and Star Citizen is far more sandbox. I get that. And WoW is actually more equivalent to Squadron 42. That's why that jumped into my head. I get that, but I think you look at the mining loop, that's a really good way of looking at it, right? Is if they wanted it kind of puddle deep with stuff, you would have created the mining lasers and that's it. But we got extra components going on. We've got the modules to add. We've got the consumables that have been added to it. So they've added a lot of other stuff to that loop when they didn't really need to. They could have just gotten away with mining lasers and a bunch of mining laser heads, because that's like having weapons, right? We don't even have this level of depth on our weapons at the moment. You put a weapon in and that's it. There aren't other things that you can really add to that to really change it out and affect the way that weapon works. So at the moment, there's more depth on mining components and mining equipment than there is on weaponry, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, I'm hoping again that we'll see a little bit more of that. So there we go. To me, it's more the tools they've been making now being completed, and they can slowly focus more and more attention on adding things and fixing things. 100%, and I think we've seen that with how quickly Nix has come in, even though it's not a complete system. The downside of Nix, obviously, is that there are obvious issues with it right now in terms of game performance. In terms of large areas feeling like they're placeholders, there feels like there's an awful lot of space dust, which seems to be covering up other crimes. Luna, welcome in. Good to see you. Always a pleasure, of course. It's going to be dependent on the success of Squadron 42, says Ruboy. Let's say Squadron 42 releases as expected. They still need the people to support it and also start creating expansions. To an extent, yeah. I mean, whether they go expansions, so we know there's episodes. So we know that Squadron 42 is going to be split into 3 episodes. Episode 2 is Behind Enemy Lines, and episode 3, I can't remember. So potentially they're gonna do that, but I also think that they're gonna come across, because what's making all the money for them at the minute? Where's the 915 mil come from? I mean, they've even stopped selling Squadron 42, which is kind of crazy. I would be very interested to see, on a completer side, what sort of limited edition or collector's edition they'll come out for it. I mean, for those that haven't seen, I don't think it's in front of me at the minute. I think it's on the table across the way. But I got the Constellation edition of Starfield. I got the limited edition boxes for Total War Warhammer 1 and 2, which is why I don't own 3, because I didn't do one for it. So I voted with my feet. I get a lot of like the Warhammer limited edition stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of keen to see what other things that I can own that will be like that. At Cyberpunk, I got the collector's edition book for Cyberpunk. So there's loads of stuff like that. I really like the special, not everyone has it, it's not always available, physical stuff that just takes the game stuff to the next level, which is good fun. So I'll be interested to see what they do, because I already have a copy of Squadron 42, because I was concierge when they did that whole switchover thing and you got a digital copy. I also have an extra copy of it, which I may look at doing as a giveaway, but it won't be advertised. That's not why I'm doing giveaways. I do giveaways to give back to the community, not to attract a bunch of people who are going to rock up, try and get the giveaway, and then never appear again. It's more a thank you to you guys for being here all the time. I hate giveaways that are like, and some random gets it and then disappears, never to be seen again. That's not the point, right? Or at least for me, it isn't. So there we go. So maybe they have 2 years to make it, and they make the Ironclad first to build out the Drake ship line. Not so it'll be cracking, but it'll be sooner than we think. I'm not sure what that's in relation to, but that might be something different. I hope they prove me wrong, says Hasselbones, but I'll believe it when I see it. I'm just looking at Rich Tyre as the patch goes approach, and thinking that applies to 1.02. Yeah, I think 1.0 is slightly different. So there might be a nice thing to have a look at here. So that's the different areas, the Mercenary Guild, the Academy. Did we look at the Academy one? That's interesting, because actually, as far as Explorer goes, I think they could do better. As far as Researcher goes, I think they could do better. But there you go. Instantaneous Transport Guild, United Resource Workers. So there we go. Hey Stacker, welcome in, buddy. Good to see you. Don't know if you snuck in earlier, but I didn't say hello if you did. Hello to Fan Fantasy, to Edison, welcome in, bud. Yeah, good to see all the other faces that I haven't already said hello to. But that's that one. Let's close that down just for a second. And let's go back to, it's probably worth having a look at this as well. So let's go to the release view. And let's have a look at what they've got in for 1.0. It's always important to mention. I'll mention it because otherwise people tend to get a little bit wrapped around the axle on stuff like this. But 1.0, just because it's in this column, doesn't mean that that's the first time we'll see it. It's a list of things they want to add by the time we get to 1.0. Guilds, insurances, taxes and warranty, law and security, reputation version 2. And I think we're going to be up at a few more versions of that before we get there. Death of a Spaceman, that's a lot to add. AI blades, quantum travel, including quantum boosting, which we saw in the Squadron 42 trailer, or the gameplay demo. Item misfire and wear, getting that kind of a little bit in places. Charge and drain, life support, solar flare for pyro, because does anyone remember that when that first came out? Vehicle radar scanning and rework, thank God. FPS radar and scanning, IFCS and control surfaces, in progress as we speak. Hangar upgrades, weapon overheat, player space stations, crafting, base building, ownership, implementing a robust ownership system for items, vehicles, and more, including the ability to transfer ownership both legally and illegally, player-to-player trading, player organizations, social mobiGlass app, citizenship, and planetary shields. Lots and lots of stuff to go in. Locations, although they added then the Imperial Sports Federation, I guess that's got a HQ. The utility tunnels, which are going to go on Arc Corp. It looks like that plan already has changed, because it looks like the first iteration we'll get of this instancing tech, which is what utilities will rely on, is actually going to be at Nix. We saw that during CitizenCon Direct. I'm sorry, my stomach is whinging at me because I haven't eaten yet today, and it's basically telling me that I should have. The camera might have picked that up, it might not. I hope it didn't, but it could have. The Council as a location. The Mercenary Guild as a location, Academy of Sciences, United Research, and so on and so on. Building interiors, gameplay-focused layouts to fill the interiors of the various buildings in landing zones and other points of interest. And I genuinely think, please, Star Citizen, CIG, listen to me. Use the community to do that. You could absolutely make this genuinely the most collaborative game development that's ever existed. And I think we would love you for it. So there we go. Location stories, main stories, station warfare. There's a lot to go in. Huge amounts. Am I fasting, Hustlebones? No, so I got up at a weird time today. Didn't feel hungry. And one of the things that I'm trying to do at the minute, because I'm, for one reason or another, I'm more inactive than I would normally be. So I'm just trying to eat when I can. When I need to, not just when I can. So if I'm not hungry at breakfast, I won't have a breakfast just for the sake of having a breakfast. And then basically I went to meet someone for coffee at 1, sat with them for just over 2 hours. So I basically charged back from the shop. And I've had some cook, so that's worked. But other than that, that's it. You look famished. Fuck off, Artemis. I can afford to lose a few pounds, is what you're trying to say, you monster. Well played, sir. Well played. So yeah, you cheeky fucker. Yeah, sorry. That's it. I've lost my chain of thought now. That's it. Someone called me fat. I'm going to go cry in the corner. Fan Fantasy says, do you think they'll bring back older missions from pre 4.0? I really do miss the old Amazon sim delivery, which is how I learned the game. Look, I'm really hoping they bring back the old stuff, including things like the PI Wanted mission. For me, that was absolutely beautiful. Self-control, I'm trying. I'm doing my best. So there we go. There we can only hope. Red Samurai says, going back to collector's editions, do you see that Ghost of Yotai came with a digital download, not a hard copy? Crazy. Yeah, they're doing that a lot at the moment. Starfield was the same with that, I think. That's happening a lot. Big Boys for Life says, Ashra, mate, all that being thing gets to you is 2 years of incontinence pants tagged on the end of your life. I plan on going out on a white powder and stripper-induced frenzy on my 55th birthday. So, or maybe not. So they just go the route the Wilds Adrift and Lost Skies is going. They made a separate software that has the assets to build an island for the game and then throw it in the workshop to be explored by players and be voted on. Yeah, I think they could oh no, absolutely, Asher, no, I get that. I think they can create some sort of map making software. And what they do is, rather than just say you create any size map they want, the map size is the building interior or the room that you want, and you just give people the assets and you give them a brief. We want a cheap motel-style hotel. Here are the assets, here are the tools. And yes, it would take a little bit for them to do that. But what you do is you paid game accounts only. And then you do one per game account for each entry. So, and then you give people a long time to do it. So you're like, hey, 4 months. So if someone knocks something together in 15 minutes, tough. That's it. And then you, like the referral program, you do a rewards program. So every time your design is chosen, you get something on the rewards program. Maybe there's a little like plaque somewhere in the room that has your name on it. You know, like they've done the same sort of things with ships and the names of ships designers. Maybe it's just a tiny little bit. It sits. It's like, you know, a button you press and something slides back and it tells you the user of whoever designed that location. They could do something like that. But I really like that idea of you know, that sort of using us to do that. You think of, they only have so many building designs for Horizon, for example, right? So you know where the elevator is. You can go, okay, we want X number of office buildings, so design a floor for an office building. We want it tidy. It's going to be corporate types. You even select the assets that you want to use. So you give people, for that design, here are the assets that we want you to use. And let people have at it. And then, okay, there's going to be some overhead in having people double check the designs and make sure they're okay. But I think that would, you know, the overhead there of going yes, no to different designs is going to be much less than the amount of people you would need to do, to employ on a full-time basis to generate what the community will do for some in-game rewards. Just so. So there we go. Well, yes, very possibly. So yeah, that's what I think. That's a way that they can go with it, but we'll see. So yeah, 1.0. Like I said, I would be very surprised if we saw it this side of 2030. I've been saying that for years. I've not really seen anything that makes me think any different, especially going down that list. I mean, just that there. So if we look at the things that haven't yet been implemented, we've got 3, 13, 39, 45, 46 items going down there. And they're not iterations and they're not reworks so much as they are completely brand new features. Even dynamic server meshing is so far removed from static. That's a separate feature in and of itself. Starchitect V5, that's probably the only update in there that we can see, right? Those are not small things. You're not going to get 5 or 6 of those, 4 or 5 of them, 2 or 3 of them at the same time. You might get 2 if you're really lucky. Gameplay, again, none of that is going to come as a massive batch. Unless things change massively when people working on Squadron 42 come across to Star Citizen. So there we go. At the rate COG's going, will probably be uploaded to the game as AI brain scans, possibly. So there we go. Yeah. But as for Squadron 42, I'm really hoping it does come next year. I think, looking at the progress reports that have been coming out about Squadron 42, the language has definitely changed. They're talking about polish, they're talking about improvements, they're talking about refactors, they're talking about, you know, all that sort of stuff that is towards the end game of getting a game out. You know, they're talking about optimizations, they're talking about reshoots, they're talking about that sort of stuff for particular sequences. They're not talking about implementing, they're not talking about developing, they're not talking about, you know, version 1 or version 2. They're past a lot of that, and I think that's a good sign. I still wouldn't bet money on it coming next year, but I think we're in a better place than maybe we were. I don't think we'll see an Anvil large subcap in the lineup anytime soon. I'll be holding on to the Paladin of 1-0. Choosing Misk for the TAC was an awful design choice. Artemis, I wouldn't be surprised if the battlecruiser is Anvil. Just saying. Maybe that's hopium, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think that's why they said don't say who's making it. I think that's why that was said. Because if that was an Aegis cap, I don't think it would bother. I don't think it would have anything like the effect that saying it will be Anvil would have for people. That's my guess. That's going to be my random hope. So there we go. I wonder we can hold a weapon with 2 on the back again. That is about to be implemented, Parker. They've confirmed that that's coming back. That they are putting that back in the game. That was in the last progress report, I think. They basically said that they will be implementing, re-implementing, picking up a 3rd gun. So that's cool. Games Awards in like a week. You'll think of the Squadron 42 promo there. I mean, possibly Hustle. I'm hoping they do something a little bit special for it. Because the problem is, of course, with CitizenCon as it is at the moment, maybe what we see is at CitizenCon next year that's the announcement for it. Maybe there's a special event that they put out. I don't know. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, though. The Battlecruiser will be more expensive than Javelin. Yes, it is. It's going to be the biggest ship in the game. Biggest buyable ship in the game. Yeah, so... People forget we've not seen a bunch of the capital ships that were in Squadron 42. No, so the Bengal's all RSI, isn't it? So the Bengal variants 2 will be RSI. I doubt they'll put something out for Game Awards. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know. Maybe they'll be cheeky and pop it on when Grand Theft Auto was originally going to release, but maybe that'll be too much of a challenge to Rockstar. Don't know. I'd like to buy a station, maybe a moon. See what you did there. Turtle King, the Anvil. Just pound on it till you break yourself. Yeah, that's it. The Anvil Hammer. that would be too tongue in cheek, right? They couldn't do that. That'll be a bit pants. So the last thing I want to do, just while we're here, is I just want to have a very quick look at what the first hour has been like for this last day, given the fact that they're not huge Warbonds and stuff. So we're up to 134. And just so you're aware, like the first of the Aegis Day with all the limited hulls that came out with that, they got up to 665,000 in the first hour. So yeah, not huge amounts. I wouldn't mind betting again will be less than yesterday, but seeing as yesterday was still over 2 million, it's all relative, right? It's still a very good day for CIG. The Anvil Boaty McGabo face. I mean, but there you go. Let's see. Let's find out. Let's find out when it comes out. Which ship next month, says Hustlebones? I don't know. What do you think? What do you guys think is coming out next month? Obviously, everything they mentioned Ship Talk is coming out next year. That's what they said. I don't know. Maybe that's the ship launch. Maybe the ship launch isn't a ship launch. Maybe it's the announcement of Squadron 42 and the sale of the game. Don't know. Don't know. The Hermes, says Hustlebones. Yeah. I mean, if the Hermes wasn't just a red herring thrown in for everyone, that's very, very possible, given the fact that there were that many. I don't think the Kraken's that far on. Yeah, Star Sail. So there's been a ship release every month. So we're kind of having it stab at if it's going to be that month. If there is going to be one in December, what's it likely to be? The way fire is going, we're going to need a space fire truck. Yeah. The Anvil Extinguisher. Nope. Greycat UTC, maybe. Don't know. I'd like to see the Pioneer, but it's massive. Yeah, it's not going to be the Pioneer. Again, gameplay blocker, even if it was ready. Size 10 torpedo with a chair and a joystick. Nice. Like that. Lots of options. Hopefully something plays with engineering. I'd need a specialty fire engine ship, says Fishhead. yeah, good luck with that, I guess. I mean, I'm kind of... I think one of the things they could do with the Cuddy Red, you know, it's got that searchlight on top. I think that could be a scanning system. So you actually use it to look at sections of the ship and see where life signs are. And then you can, like, maybe cut your way in and get them out, that sort of stuff. Because, of course, it's not always going to be the case. With military ships, of course, there's the stuff that seals around you. But if you walk around your ship in civilian clothing because you're a hauler, and the ship starts to decompress in sections because you end up under attack or you get damaged by something, then you're going to seal yourself away where there's oxygen. Doesn't mean you've necessarily got access to, like, EVA stuff. So in that case, something like that would be really useful, and that makes the Cutty Red more of the search and rescue, that it's got plastered down its side, than it is just a medical ship. And I think that would be a really nice thing to go. Wasn't one of the stretch goals a pet? Pets are still confirmed. There you go. So there you go. Yeah, so lots of things to consider then. I honestly don't know what's coming out next month. I think if the Hermes is a thing, then very, very likely I could go back and we could have a look at one of the progress reports and have a look at how many unannounced ships there are, and then whether or not they've all been announced since that, or they've released since that report. That might give us a thing. But to be honest, guys, I'm kind of on the bones of my ass. And that might be a nice thing for people to go and have a look at by themselves, I think. So, yeah. First rule of space flying, always wear your helmet. Second rule of space flying, always wear an environment suit. That. I haven't had really sensitive cargo since the, yeah, you're right. Oh, dear. Holy moly. Why am I tired all the time? It's crazy. Nothing we know of seems to fit with 4.5 and engineering being the focus. Yeah, although I guess how a ship fits in with engineering. I mean, if it was repairing, there'd be a bunch of ships that would be in the frame, but it's kind of not. So I guess they go to something else? Question mark? Question mark? Space Tomato has a good vid tracking ships with a spaceship. A spreadsheet. Nice. That might be worth looking at. But yes, the Marcus, welcome in. Good to see you, buddy. So yeah. We'll see. I don't know. What I might do, I haven't decided yet, but what I might do is I might go live for the Inside Star Citizen Engineering part, because I haven't taken part in the waves. I doubt I will until it goes to live, because PTU just winds me up massively. It's not my thing. I bought this to play it, not to beat my head against a brick wall testing it. I'll test it for a few things, but at the moment, given how broken I'm hearing that being, that's not going to be my idea of fun, and I've got better things to do with my time. So yeah, I think we'll have a look at maybe that with ISC, but have a look whenever that goes live. I might put a notification out. The problem with the ISC stuff is you never really know when they're going live, so we'll have a look. If that's something you guys want to see, just let me know. Pop something in the comments or whatever, and I'll consider it. But similarly, if people prefer watching that stuff themselves, I get it, especially with constant pausing and stuff. So what I try to do is watch it through and then watch it back and focus in on specific things. But we'll see. Yeah, there we go. Get on with your bad self badges, says Parker. Absolutely, mate. Yeah, so that's where we are for the last day. I hope you guys have enjoyed IAE. I really hope that you've enjoyed the going live and the discussion that we've had in here. Thank you guys for being here. It's been absolutely awesome. We have seen some crazy numbers on this channel, and I'm not used to it. Once again, I will mention, I've teamed up with Pigeon Spaceport for the RSI Scorpius, their upcoming model. There's a link in the description down below. There's a whole video on it if you want to go and have a look. But honestly, guys, it's been awesome. Both your reception to that and to just being here, chilling out, talking all things Star Citizen has been awesome. It makes the streaming so much easier when I know I'm going to come in and just talk to you, all of you awesome people. So there we go. Badgers do not hibernate, but they enter a state of torpor during cold weather. I enter a state of torpor all the time, mate. I think that's it. But yes, you guys look after yourselves. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for being here during IAE. I hope to see you again as we continue throughout the year. I will get a new video up once I am able, though I don't know when that will be, so I'll make no promises on that front. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.